Good evening and welcome to Ghana Shot. Today we're going to talk about India-Bangladesh relations with General Rajiv Narayanan. And let me welcome him at the outset. Rajiv, good evening and welcome to Ghana Shot after a long time.
Yes.
And
Thank you, sir.
yeah,
Good evening.
and
So
we're gonna, yeah,
before I will go through it in a slightly different way. Like we
yeah,
say, sir, Chinese को समझना है तो Chinese की history समझनी चाहिए to understand their
mhm,
DNA.
yeah,
So here I will give a brief background so that people understand the DNA, because some of them who are new now, youngsters, may not know what all has happened, to understand how such things happen in Bangladesh and why.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
समझने
Before that, let me give an introduction to this whole story. And must tell everyone, why I chose till Rajiv Narayanan. Normally we talk of China and all that, and but why I chose him? You know, though many of you wouldn't know, he spent 1 year in Bangladesh, right? And he did a staff course out there, and one of the brightest officers of the Indian Army who went and did. I still remember. He used to tell me about Bangladesh when we were young majors. And so he has a knowledge, in-depth knowledge about Bangladesh. And why Bangladesh, we all know. Because there's a fervent anti-India and anti-Hindu rhetoric coming out from there. From all levels, the government level, media, from social media, reactions to everything. And this anti-India sentiment is pretty trident. And they are reigniting a relationship with Pakistani. And that's based on collective national amnesia of, so many rapes and murders which Pakistan has done on them and about which I spoke. I rekindled those memories, but it doesn't seem to have much effect. Then there is a trend line which says they're trying to project the image of Bangladesh and themselves, which is larger than life. It is as if Bangladesh is the dominant power in this region, and some of their op-eds and opinions and utterances make me feel that India doesn't exist. Also, in South Asia, it is only Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan. They have to they'll do whatever they want between themselves and they'll be self-sufficient. And then of course with Pakistan, the great Pakistan. And for all this, there's this great facilitator called China or USA. I mean, there is some feeling, yeah, India doesn't matter. There is also a impression which I get from what I was saying. Look, India needs Bangladesh. Bangladesh doesn't need India. These are the feelings I get, which ever since their Monsoon Coup, which happened. And I call it a coup because it's now beyond doubt it's a political coup. Although it isn't this kind of a thing, we have to see as to where India and Bangladesh relations go ahead. Uh, and we have to also understand that we are dealing with a government which is past legality. Is it legal? It's not. Is it constitutional? No. It's not as per its own constitution. Plus, there are things which are coming out which says the army itself is under pressure. Some kind of, for the first time I heard that army will get cooled. I mean, there's something very strange happening, and every second day either the trains are, there's a train strike or a bank strike or some strike or the other. But their grandiose plans about what they are and how they're going to treat India and how India should treat them as more as a supplicant is actually pretty, to me, very strange. I've now not seen this kind of a national behavior elsewhere. But having said that, it's our neighbor. We have to deal with it. How we deal with it is something which we need to understand. And why we should deal with it the way we should deal with it is, like General Narayanan said, you have to deal with a person based on his DNA. And I specifically, I knew he'll talk of DNA because he's seen its DNA from long back. Okay. And it is in that context that, I requested him to speak. Rajiv, all yours. Please take on.
Sir, there are slight variations in my perceptions from you, sir, because those perceptions that you mentioned, yes, it is there, but it is not pan.
Bangladesh. Yeah, I
Citing.
agree with you.
It's
Yeah.
just with those ruling elite who have come.
Yeah,
And
and let me, okay. Having you said that, let me qualify what I'm saying. This is the thing which is coming out of those guys who usurp power there.
so,
And there's a large segment which is whose voices and whose franchise and everything is rights are probably being brutally suppressed. Let me qualify it. Right?
so
And yeah, I go with you there.
yes.
All yours.
So
Sorry.
I will just go with a little background. Its creation. It has had a fraught relationship with West Pakistan ever since Pakistan was created. As I've always said, it is a misnomer for us to say Pakistan's Independence Day is on 14th August. There was no Pakistan before that. It's a Pakistan formation day. It was established that day. Uske pehle they have no history. 50s and all, you found language rights because West Pakistanis were trying to impose Urdu on Bangladesh, now Bangladesh, and Punjabi domination. They were against that. A lot of people have died. They have a memorial in Dhaka for these people. And the pushback was also for cultural suppression. Then we all know what happened in the 1970s elections and the Operation Searchlight, in which Razakars and the Pak army were let loose. I won't get into it. We had Mukti Bahini created and India supported them. And the lightning campaign, and Pak army surrendered. Now begins its most turbulent journey thereafter. So, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, after taking over, wanted to get all the Bangladeshis who were in West Pakistan repatriated, much against the advice of Indira Gandhi. There was a reason. 60% of Bangladesh army officers were in West Pakistan. Either they had been arrested in house arrest, or they were fighting with the Pakistan army against India and didn't want Bangladesh to be formed. That was the reason why Indira Gandhi kept advising him no. So that is the background to that old 1972 act, where he said 30% reservations in all government institutions and colleges and jobs everywhere for Mukti Bahini and their descendants. Instead of setting up democracy, he followed a single party rule and socialism. That was his background. Now, these people come in 74, and look at the timing, which tells you the Pak hand in that. 15th August 1975 is the coup, formally approved by Ziaur Rahman, and the entire family which was there, less those who had gone to London and were outside, like Sheikh Hasina, everybody was murdered. Okay. Now, having done that, within about a civilian caretaker government came there. Ziaur Rahman has not yet joined them. Now, within about August में हुआ था, by November, 3rd November, a Mukti Bahini leader, Brigadier Musharraf, he leads a counter coup. Okay. And now comes the hand of socialists. Now, whether it is the Chinese or the Russians, it's open to question. At that, or Soviet Union, it's open to question. There is another coup by the leftists in the army. Now, most of the coups, the officer have been the face. It has always been done by the men. That's why they always call it Sipahi Janta coup. That is their coup, Sipahi Janta. So there is a counter coup within 4 days, and the leftists take power, and Musharraf is killed. There is a caretaker government, and quietly in a silent coup in 77, Ziaur Rahman takes charge. He's there in power for 4 years. In 4 years, he faced 21 assassination attempts and 20 coup attempts. The coup division in Bangladesh is the division which is near Dhaka. There is a cantonment called Mirpur, 9 division. 9 division आपके साथ तो आप coup कर दोगे. 9 division not with you, coup cannot happen. Because 9 division controls all approaches to Dhaka. Dhaka is surrounded by all the water bodies. वो bridges को block कर देगा, you can't come. So the key to coup in Bangladesh is 9 division. And I'll touch upon it a little later. What General Shankar had mentioned about the fissures in the Bangladesh army. Okay. That done, he established 78 May, he is the one who established the Bangladesh National Party and pushed Bangladesh towards a multi-party democracy. उस वक्त दो ही थे. And 21st, he won the elections. He became the president. A 21st coup which took place, 29th May 1981, he was killed. And General Ershad, who later formed the Jatiya Party, he became the head. But the biggest damage Ershad did was most likely at the behest of the Pakistanis. He removed gradually all the Mukti Bahini people, sidelined them. When I went to Bangladesh, they were very minimal, 3-4 only who were there. Rest had all been sidelined, retired as either majors or lieutenant colonels. They never went up. And so gradually you find that the hardline officers leading a leftist rank and file, that is what is the Bangladesh army. They are very scared of their men. Like we have buddy system, they have no buddy system. They are paid money to hire a civilian boy. They always have a boy at home who looks after all his uniform and other things. There's no contact with the men. They're very scared of the men. At the end, if we have time, I'll give you an anecdote of what happened.
No, we'll do. We have no problem. We have time in time.
So, there was an attempt subsequently in 96. It was abortive because 9 Div didn't support. The army chief wanted to have a coup and overthrow Khalida Zia. He felt that they were leaning more towards the Pakistanis, but it didn't succeed because the GOC 9 Div supported the government. And like I said, he blocked off all the approaches across the water bodies into Dhaka, and they couldn't come. Okay. By then, people were sick and tired of Khalida Zia, but ultimately, finally, there was a coup in 2008. The GOC 9 Div and the chief overthrew that government, formed a caretaker government, held 2007 actually, January. 2008, December, they held the elections, which was won by Awami League. And January till date, she was ruling. 2009, she was ruling. But the moment she took over, the blowback came from the Bangladesh, which is now called Border Guards. It used to be called Bangladesh Rifles then. In Pilkhana is their headquarters in Dhaka. All the heads had come for a meeting, and all the heads are all from the Bangladesh army. They massacred 57 officers. Total killed was 74.
Yeah.
And 9 Div then surrounded them. 6,000 of them were arrested, disbanded, and 152 people were hung, executed after the trial. That that is the time which was, you can make an indication that there was an American hand there, because that is the time Yunus had already got his Nobel Prize. He was already the biggest funder for the Clinton Foundation, and he is the one at that time who wanted to come in as the dictator or the president, sole president with no political parties. His talk with Hillary Clinton was him -2, and the -2 were no Khalida Zia and no Sheikh Hasina. Ershad, from his Jatiya party, he had already resigned from politics, and he was already into legal battles and everything, and he was in to pasture till he died in 2019. So he had left politics. So -2. It didn't happen because the army reacted very fast. Then again, around 2012, there was a coup attempt to bring a Sharia law in Bangladesh by the army, retired army officers, who had links to Hizb ut-Tahrir and of course the Jamaat-e-Islami Bangladesh. But the most interesting part is the SIM cards. All the SIM cards that they had was from UK. So again, you find a American stroke Western hand in the attempt. And they were all supported by Razakars and JEI, who are supporting Mr. Yunus now. The same gang is supporting Yunus. So you see, they have always had this problem. One party comes to power, while Ershad may have brought in the multi-party democracy, it meant nothing. Because after he faded away, it was always a tussle. If Sheikh Hasina was in power, Khalida Zia and all were in jail. If Khalida Zia was in power, Sheikh Hasina and her gang were in jail. So that has been the traditional DNA of their politics. Street power, when we talk about, you'll be amazed. The political parties have seeped into schools. 11-year, 12-year-old kids are card-holding party members in schools. That's how divisive that society has become. It's a sad commentary. Here, at least, when you look at it, it's only going into colleges, though I am also still against all these things in colleges, but they're in schools here. 11th, 12th, junior school guys are part of, and they go out. The moment there is a rally call, that is the end of the school. Everybody is on the street, even kids are on the street. Now, the present turmoil, the monsoon coup or the public coup, I call it. Use of students and street power. So I will recommend you all to Google Albert Einstein Institute in Boston. It has nothing to do with whatever Albert Einstein taught, nothing to do with physics, nothing to do with science. It openly talks of 198 methods of regime change. Gene Sharp is the one who established it in early 80s. He had written this paper way back in 1974. And that has been in use. They have, you can say, streamlined the processes and everything. Your yellow revolution and tulip revolution and God knows what all revolutions everywhere, the Arab Spring. This was done. And of course, the National Endowment for Democracy, every time, wherever it has been done, they have been the leading hand in doing all these things. Now, the funny part, ostensibly, it was supposed to be against that 30% Act of 1972. Well, to the uninformed, let me tell you, Sheikh Hasina had cancelled, repealed that order in 2018, had a discussion with everybody and brought in, which everybody had accepted, 5% reservation only. Everything was going hunky-dory. In 2021, 7 descendants of Mukti Jodhas went to the Dhaka High Court in appeal. Nothing happened. Suddenly, after our 4th June, our election results come. 6th June, the High Court in Dhaka gives it against Sheikh Hasina, repeals her act and goes back to 30%. Students come out on the street. The Supreme Court stays that order, and in July brings back Sheikh Hasina's act with a change. Instead of 5%, it says 7%. All done and dusted. Then why was there again a movement in August against the act? If you needed to go against the act, it was not Sheikh Hasina. You should have targeted that the Chief Justice of the High Court. So on X, some of them had reached out to our groups where I had questioned this. And that student leader still hasn't got back to the answer as to why. If you're going against the act, she is the one who repealed that act. It is the High Court judge who repealed her act, but yet you went after her. But anyway, the army quietly brought everyone back again, and out, Sheikh Hasina and the Awami League leaders went out, and Yunus helicopters in. Always remember, when you have no clue about how to govern, even if it is a small country, it's not easy. You were in Grameen Bank, you were booted out as far back as I think 2011, and you have been staying abroad. What will you know about governing your country? You know nothing. Your mind there has been filled with anti-India narrative, and at every stage you find that he has had to pull back. The latest, I'll just give you the input. We have a pipeline from Assam, Numaligarh pipeline. It gives them about 12% of Bangladesh needs comes from Numaligarh. And there is a friendship pipeline which has been made, which brings them all the refined diesel and everything comes through that. Balance he gets from Malaysia, Singapore, and China. These 3 countries give him. Refined oil is taken, though he has an old refinery, but it's very old. It can barely match about 3 to 4% of his country's needs. ये पाकिस्तानियों ने बनाया था 1960s. They have not renovated that at all for reasons best known to them. He thought he will shut Indian oil. Why should I have dependency? I will not have any dependency on India like he did for rice and everything. And so I will talk to India on equal terms. What happened? Rice, we all know, he had to come with a begging bowl to you. Singapore, Malaysia, China said, thank you very much. We can't we can't supply you with additional demand that you are asking, because it was to the tune of close to $1.5 billion. What has he done now? After all that shouting,
he's come back.
They have signed an order, cleared it till the end, till January 2025, that 2026 that they're going to take oil from. Okay. So now what has happened? Moment he came, the Razakars, the JEI of Bangladesh, and the Hizb ut-Tahrir have taken charge. And it is very damaging because his advisor, his assistant, is the head of the HUT in Bangladesh. Now, that has angered the BNP and quite a lot of the students. The JEI also has his group of students. They are with them. Rest have broken ranks. The BNP has become very anti him. And like I said, like General Shankar had mentioned, that there is a break in the army, but there is a problem that army faces. The army chief has been neutral, but he is pro-Awami. He is married to Sheikh Hasina's niece. There is a lieutenant general who is the commandant of NDC, which is in Sawarkand, which is also next door to Dhaka. He was the ex-CGS, General Muhammad Shaheenul Haq. He and the GOC of 9 Moin Khan, are with the army chief with Awami League. A pro-Jamati is the ex-DGFI. DGFI, Directorate General of Forces Intelligence, exactly carbon copy of ISI. It's a carbon copy of ISI. So Faizur Rahman used to be that head, and he's the QMG. And of course, like I said, HUT wala Yunus ka advisor Mahfouz Alam. Now they are in a bind because if 9 is not with them, they can't do anything. 9 controls Dhaka, like I said, and the approaches to Dhaka. So that is where that fell. Now let us look at what has happened after this, to this tortured nation. Like General Shankar had said, he's unconstitutional. People ask him, like IMF, he wants a loan, World Bank, he wants a loan. They ask him, you're a caretaker to which government? There is no government. The president has refused to dissolve parliament. And the president has support of the army chief and the GOC 9 Yunus kuch nahi kar sakta, ghanta kuch kar sakta hai. Okay. Today, what is happening, thanks to the Razakars and all coming up and him going anti this thing and reaching out to Pakistan and anti-India rant, there are daily strikes, violence. There is a full railway strike. Pipeline se to wo tel to aata hai, but complete tanker, oil tanker lorry strike.
Yeah.
Shades of what happened to us in 1974. Those who are old enough will remember.
Yeah.
George Fernandez and Jayaprakash Narayanan. That has come on the streets and he has no answer. Every day. Every day.
Yeah. Every day there's a new strike.
Yeah. His economy is in shambles. The only thing that was keeping them up and thriving, that they are growing as so I was surprised, because they kept telling it's a shining example of growth. What growth? They had only industry they had was the sweatshops. Garment industry, sweatshops. That's all. It's all gone. It's all come here. Peter Haas, who used to be their ambassador, who is now the Energy and Oil Commission head in Bangladesh. I am surprised as to how an American is head of their government entity. But that apart, he belongs to the Levi's group. He comes from the Levi's family. As of June 2024, just imagine, she was overthrown in that coup only in August. June 2024, he was here with the Levi's team, and they have signed all their agreements for next set of contracts in India. June 2024. Most of the European garment industry followed him, and they came to India and signed their agreements for the next lot. In any case, they would have. Why did they come to India? Because the raw material for whatever Bangladesh was making, the garment industry used to go from India.
Goes from here.
That's it. The biggest benefit is Tamil Nadu, Coimbatore, Tirupur. 40% of Bangladesh garment new contracts, future contracts have all come here. Gujarat, Maharashtra, our place. Some very few has gone to Punjab. Otherwise, Orissa, Bihar, all these places where you have these small garment industries, they've all taken over. The garment industry is closed. He can't pay money, so there is hardly any energy which is coming in. Took a fight with Adani and that's it. Like General Shankar said, he had a bloated image of himself. Everything is getting punctured. Rural areas, what people reach out to us on X, they say 19 hours power cut. In major cities, it is anything 12 to 15 hours power cut. How do you run industries? And now with this tanker lorry strike, how are they going to move stuff? If food grains also reach a place, how do you reach it out to provinces? Nothing moves. Bulk of the transport movement is through rail. The rail is on strike. They're talking of their pensions, the overtime, and God knows what all. So railway employees and other unions, everybody is on strike. No railway is moving as on date today. So even if you're getting stock to the port or
आगे
to a
क्या
dry,
होगा?
आगे कैसे निकालोगे? The only country who's somewhat supporting him is our western neighbor. He makes sound. तो
वो
दो
क्या
भिखारी
करेगा?
क्या देगा? And his biggest worry now today is his supporters are running around in US because there are inquiries against them. The biggest one is Victoria Newland. There is an inquiry against her, the mastermind of this monsoon coup. There is an inquiry against Hillary Clinton. That despite him not being in the Grameen Bank, in the name of Grameen Bank, almost $13 million was given to him, out of which $10 million have come. Grameen Bank, it is coming out, what had come out earlier, was a money laundering scheme for these people. His daughter from his first wife, Monica Yunus, she's a singer. But there were a lot of back deals done and money exchanged hands, and that is how she came into Biden's President's Committee for Arts and Humanity. The moment inquiry has started, that PCAH dot whatever is their website doesn't exist now. He is very concerned because once it gets to her, there's going to be a lot of dirt which will come out on him. And DJT is openly said that he has to come out with all the truth. Where does he go? He went to Davos with his begging bowl. Except for promises, he came with nothing. The Davos thing itself is under a cloud. Klaus Schwab has resigned. We used to organize everything. So what will happen there? Where will he go? So to pacify radicals, he blows out hot on India. Now to pacify the people, he tries to blow cold. Like after all that bluster, he suddenly said, no, you have to remember, you cannot make a map of Bangladesh without map of India. Obviously, all three sides are India. And the biggest blow to him was, where it all started to fall, was when he tried to rewrite the constitution of 1972 with hardliners. And he wanted to remove the president. And the biggest blunder he did was to think of removing the chief and get his man. That is where things went south. The complete strikes and everything, people came on the streets and they had to back off. And his advisor who was there, who was going to advise him on that, Mahfouz Alam, HUT wala, had to say, no, we'll reconsider. Otherwise, they were going to give it on 1st of January and July it was to be implemented. And then people were asking, without a constituent assembly, how are you going to write a constitution? Who's writing this constitution? So basically, in this tortured cycle, they have a basic problem, identity problem. They have fought for Bangla as language and Bangla culture. That has only links with India. It doesn't have links anywhere else in the world. And then the other is wanting to have a Islamic identity, which creates its own issue. Because then Urdu comes in and other things come in which people don't like. Even today, if you go to see a common Bangladeshi woman, she may be a Muslim. She wears a sari and has a bindi, by the way. The most famous music is Bangla music. And the folk music is same like the bowls of our West Bengal. The bowls are the folk music, same culture, everything same. So it's an identity crisis that they face. The powers that be, when they become hardline, they don't want to relate to India. But the people, where will they go? They survive on the black food grains and everything which comes into India, which is a travesty of justice. It is one of the most fertile alluvial plains you will find. Both Brahmaputra and the Ganga, and there is a Meghna inside which flows from there inside. Chota aata hai Sura, and from Barak, chota sa river aata hai. Rest, most of Meghna comes from within Bangladesh, from Sylhet side. They bring in so much of alluvial soil into the plains. It's so fertile. वहां तो when we were there, we used to say, लकड़ी भी फेंक दो साला उग जाएगा, वो वापस पेड़ बन जाएगा. And yet you survive. You can't. Your survival rice, your rice eating, and you're importing rice because of all these torturous, which I showed you, coup, counter coup, this, that, people getting involved, this happening, that happening. They've not had a green revolution. We talk of ourselves growing without a peace dividend. They've never had a peace dividend, so to say. Because the powers that be are busy having coups to take power. Who's going to bother about the people? Nobody. So what is our way ahead? We must make sure first and foremost that our national interests are second. So why do you keep looking at Tripura and Bangladesh and West Bengal? Both Bengali speaking areas. Tripura also has a lot of Bengali speaking people. Bengal is also Bengali speaking people.
Yeah, Agartala is completely Bengali.
Speaking. So that is why these infiltration attempts are going there. And as far as West Bengal is concerned, damn it, the whole of the western border of Bangladesh is West Bengal. Or koi hai nahi, it's West Bengal. Even coming towards the north, towards Siliguri. उसके बाद मेघालय आता है, फिर असम आता है, then you have Tripura, and then you have Mizoram.
असम का तो छोटा ही है. असम has got a very little.
छोटा सा सिलेट वाला इलाका है, जो सिलेट वाला इलाका, ईस्टर्न सिलेट वाला इलाका, that's about all.
Yeah.
Right. So that is why the infiltration attempts are there, and you need to concentrate to block them. Yes, the government is doing a good job in the sense that 3-tier, as they say, of hitting the base first. That the ecosystem has to be caught. Like the latest information which came out from Maharashtra, that 12,000 fake birth certificates. So your fake birth certificates, your Aadhaar card, your ration card, and voter ID, you've got to catch that. Once you catch that and then you throw out the people, then it becomes, and when you've broken that, it becomes difficult for the person to come back again, because he knows the ecosystem is not there. Something like the Americans have not done that. So all these people who are being sent back, some of them are already on record. Video recordings are available that week, 10 days, I'll go back. And this time he'll make sure he goes back to a blue state. But the blue states are not cooperating with ICE. Their internal commission who are running around to locate these people. And the other is, you should look at how to neutralize Rangpur, Rajshahi, and the Chittagong area up to the Feni. The Chittagong province has Komilla area, subdivision, which is opposite Tripura. And then comes a narrow neck. There is a Feni river which flows out from Tripura and comes into the Bay of Bengal. And then is the bulk of the Chittagong hill tracts. We need to concentrate on these three areas. Why the top? Rangpur and Rajshahi. Rangpur, Rajshahi are bordered by Brahmaputra and Ganga, and you need to be careful about that area, because that is the one which is next to your chicken neck. That's the one which is come with chicken neck. And then when you look after Chittagong, then infiltration into Mizoram and getting into Manipur becomes difficult. So these are your interests. And you need, like I said, a very strong grid for internal security. to be able to push back. And in that, like I mentioned, you got to get after the foundation. A lot of people say, इतने हैं, फेंकते क्यों नहीं, अमेरिका कर रहा है. इन चीजों में कभी जल्दबाजी नहीं करते. Some of them may be working, may not be involved in all that illegal activities that other people are involved. And a lot of them are working in a lot of places. Moment you suddenly take it out, that MSME may find it a problem. So go back to what a couple of years ago Amit Shah had mentioned. Once they identify those who are actually threatening your internal security are going to be sent back. Others identified will be given a work permit, and they will lose their voting rights and all that rights. They will be non-resident Bangladeshis working for you. If he's working in your company and not troubling you, those are the people, he said, we will not send them back, give them work permit. And maybe subsequently at renewal of work permit, they might have a look, because it's open-ended. He has not mentioned for how many years that work permit is going to be given. Okay, so it takes time. Americans, I think he has been in a hurry, so he has voted about how much will come back. Let us see. Like he spoke about 18,000 illegals of India to be sent back. India has said, hello, thank you. You may have said 18,000. You first send me the documents, we'll see. Now, the basic issue which is coming out is that there may be a number of them who may have taken asylum in some other country and then from there must have come illegally to US. If that happens, why should I take it back? They go back to the country who has given him asylum. I will not take them back. So that is where he also mentioned that we are in discussions with them. In the discussion with the reporters when in Air Force One. Then we did one exercise on the border, Siliguri corridor at Siliguri. The Navy and the Air Force and our para brigade did an exercise out there. Similar sort of exercise, start doing, like I said, your area of interest you have shown, start doing exercises out there. Then they will have ants in their pants because they know if you come in, they can do nothing. More about it, I'll explain later. And you can intelligently squeeze using the Arakan army, the church, the Buddhists, because they are also gunning after the church and the Buddhists, the hardliners. So how intelligently you can use them to create pressure and counter pressure on them. And because Yunus at this time appears to be clutching at straws. He really doesn't know, he's at his wit's end to what to do, from where. So now I will give you the anecdote exactly about their army. Like I said, why I say at the end that we will be able to take it on. They have never done ever an exercise even till date above a company level. The battalion commanders are also never being tested. The only test in an exercise is at a company commander's level. Full stop. They have no clue how to deploy a battalion, a brigade. They have no clue. Even a brigade headquarters, they have no clue. They had created village defense forces, cache of arms, identified villages, and against us, their plan was to fight a counterinsurgency warfare. Typically, what the Iraqis did the second time round when the Americans went into Iraq. That is their plan. But they don't involve the JCOs and men. The village defense forces are their hardliners in the villages and nominated officers who will be going there. The people who are pro Awami League, they had given me, the librarian who was there, he had given me the whole booklet which I've already shared as far back as 94 with MEA, MI, RAW, everybody, that this is what they plan to do. They have no other plans. They have no other battle plans. When I was there, for some reason, I'm a foreign student, We never make a foreign student in charge. The basic DS or in charge of an exercise is never a student. कितने शैमर है उनके DSs. They make students as in charge of basic DS for a tute, which is tactical exercise without troops when you go out. I have never heard of any army making a student do that. But be that as it may, one of the exercises opposed river crossing, I was made the student in charge. So I asked for the whites and pinks and greens and whatever they had. This was an exercise which was made by the Britishers and went. There used to be a British military advisory team. When I went in 93, mine was the first course where there were no Britishers left. It was to be done by them. वो अलग है कि शुरू में बुलाने के बाद उनको समझ नहीं आता था अंग्रेजी में क्या लिखा है, तो they had homed on to me and an American who was doing the course, Mark Zinger from Engineers. And we, before a capsule used to be conducted, a week before, we used to conduct the DS prayers for the DS body as to what is to be taught to the students. Okay. So now let us come to the exercise and why I say they're scared of men. So for about 5 days before the exercise, I sent in a request for a vehicle and the control stores, compass, binoculars and everything. And so my SI who was there, he calls me and he says, why do you want it? So I said, look, you told me this exercise last you went for a recce was 6 months ago. Landmarks changed. You can't tell a civilian he'll not paint the house. You're writing a green house. It may be a white house. So how do you do your landmarks if the terrain has changed? So I'd like to go and have a look at the landmarks, recheck whatever you have given. If there are changes, I will write it in pencil and we'll do that. So he couldn't understand. No, full colonel of the Bangladesh army cannot understand that 5 days before the tute, I'm going to have a relook at the landmarks and all the stands and all that they have laid out. That 6 months ago they saw it and they feel the terrain won't change. Anyway, I went, did the reconnaissance, redeployed the whatever was needed, readjusted the landmarks and everything, noted it down, came back, had it reprinted. Now, 2 days before the exercise, I again called for the vehicle and called for all the JCOs, men, and they have their civilian workers who they call Lashkars. Everybody who's going to come for that tute to come. We left early in the morning at 5. I had already walked the whole length, so I walked the whole length, showed them what is to be done, everything to be done. It was time for breakfast in between. So the JCO looks at me and he was trying to keep me separate. I said, no, I'll sit with the JCOs. I said, I'll have lunch with you, breakfast with you, or whatever. I told you for bread and this thing, fine. So we had breakfast. Then we did everything. Then we had a lunch break. In between a tea break, I had tea with them. I had snacks with them. I sat with them. I had lunch with them. Wherever they ran into rough weather, I went there on ground, explained to that Lashkar, explained to that NCO what is to be done. And I explained everything. Thereafter, made them fall in, told them, this is what you're going to do. Get all your stuff, whatever we have discussed now, you have noted each one of you. On the day of the exercise, I said, we'll fall in at 5. The officers are going to come by 6 o'clock. You will fall in at 5. The JCO in charge, I said, you will give me the report of whatever I had told you, the list. I have made out a list. You also have the list. You will confirm to me after checking that everything is there. And I will come to take the report at 5. So make sure you have done it early. Reach there. The JCO, the senior most JCO was missing. The number 2, I didn't wait. I called the number 2 JCO and marched them. That JCO came at about 5:45. The officers had also started coming in. So I took him aside and gave him a tongue lashing. And that chap stood at Savdan, sorry, this, that, and I had kept a smaller bus behind with some men for him so that he can also go. Then he went. I didn't want to scold him in either in front of the officers or the men who are under him. Doesn't look nice that you take off somebody senior in front of his men. He loses face in front of them. He apologized. He said what it is, and he went. Came into the bus. Sannata, silence. Couple of officers came. They said you should not do this. He will kill you. They are leftists. They are this. They are that. I said, you idiots. He will do nothing. You buggers don't know what leadership is. I said, I have walked that place 5 days ago. I walked that place with them 2 days ago, explained everything where he has a doubt. I have shown him how it is to be done. I have shown him this is how he's going to do. He's understood that you saab ko malum hai, sab kuch malum hai. Now that I have given him a tongue lashing because he didn't do what I did, he'll accept it. You just wait and see when we land there. They said, yeah, you just wait and see. He will ignore you. I said, fine. Our bus landed. That chap was there and he shouted full Savdhan, came, gave me the report, explained everything to me, and he walked off. And I just turned to them. I said, you idiots, this is how leadership is done. You don't, in army, I said, you don't be a boss and tell them do that. To be a leader, to earn respect from the men, you have to show and that you can do it. And that is how you are asking him to do it. And when he is in doubt, you are there. He comes to you, you are there to explain to him that this is how you are going to do. So, tum logo to kakh nahi aata. This is where I say it's not an army which will fight. It is the gray zone warfare. And that is what is my fear when I find the ISI people coming. Because Pak army kya sikhayega? How to lose? सारे लड़ाई तो हमसे पिटे हैं. पहला गेंद ठीक डाल देता है, उसके बाद तो सारे गेंद छक्के जाते हैं. तो वो क्या सिखाएगा? वो वही सिखाएगा ना जो उसको आता है. क्या आता है? Use of hardliners for grey zone warfare. And that is why I said your internal security grid has to be very strong. These buggers don't know anything. If you can make use of these strikes and other things and have a reverse coup now, a spring coup on him. So that will send a message back to the regime changers in USA that too can play the same game. In my area, I am the gunda of my area. Unless you take me on board for something, it won't happen.
Yeah, but I think the way what you said is right. Tanker strike, oil strike, no rice, right? They're looking at rice coming from Vietnam and all that. Where will Vietnam give them rice? All that. I think the way I look at it, maybe in the next 4-5 months, you'll see something else happening within Bangladesh. And whatever that.
That's why I'm saying that add fuel to that fire.
Yeah.
But we have to be careful because at some point in time when these hardliners get desperate, already violence is there. So you got to see how you can protect these people. Maybe like what we did with the Mukti Jodhas in 71. Would it be worthwhile to go down that option also?
Yeah, and we need to have a look at how to play this whole story out. But like I said, like you said, that's in the future. We'll see where it is. I think, if I can sum it up to everyone, based on what General Narayanan said, the India-Bangladesh relationship is just starting on a different track altogether. Why different track? Because Bangladesh is undergoing a change. And that change, that internal churn is not finished. And if you go by the history of what he said, we're going to have a lot of issues which we'll have to handle more with our brain than our brawn. There are a lot of people who say, go in and do this, do that. We'd have to do nothing. The military option is the last option. The non-military options are the maximum things there. Today,
they can do a regime change. Why can't we?
Why can't we do it?
Follow the same playbook and toolkit.
Yeah,
And
I
just to
completely
add,
with you.
pro-India is when Awami League is there, anti-India when BNP is there. Simple and straight in
That's it.
their.
Yeah, but I also see that the BNP also seems to have now realized where it stands.
They've broken up with the
Yeah,
BNP itself was broken up. There are a few hardliners who are with them. Rest have come away.
right. So, and I also see a small revival of the Awami League. Given time,
Yes.
I think they'll start talking back, and that's when you'll get a balance. But before that balance, there's going to be a lot of churn. We'll take only a few questions so that
Sure. Sure.
uh, this is something which you have already explained. He says, can India ever take preemptive action such as full-scale invasion to secure its strategic locations?
You already mentioned so last
Yeah,
resort.
you mentioned. Yeah, why I've got this is, please understand, we need not attack Bangladesh. We have other options to do what we want and to secure our interests in Bangladesh. And those are the things which we have to, look after. And the worst in Bangladesh has not yet come up. We have not yet seen the worst. And my feeling is, it's ahead. I'd like you to put weigh in on it.
So, like I was mentioning, which I made a slight mention of that. As more and more of these strikes, almost every day you have strikes, everything is gone. When the radicals get pushed and their backs are towards the wall, violence, small scale violence, and other violence is already on, then they become a full scale violence. And that is where I was saying that we need to be careful to see that, calibrate it in such a manner that do we also need to create the Mutti Jodhas to protect these people
Yeah,
if such a thing happens, for them to be able to fight back.
yeah. Yeah, as much as I think you very valid point. As much as we feel that look, ISI will come and export a lot of things, gray zone warfare into our thing. I think we have a lot of scope to do gray zone warfare in
In
Bangladesh itself, and which suits our interests. It's a thing which two can play
correct,
this.
you're always thinking of people coming into you. You have to realize you have three sides. You can do the
Yeah,
same thing.
you can do the same thing. Okay. He says Bangladesh is like a ticking time bomb. Any permanent solution?
See, that is where I said they have that identity crisis. Are you Bangla, for which you have made so much of sacrifices since the 50s against the West Pakistanis? Or are you Islamic? If you're Islamic, then the query comes, then why did we fight with the West Pakistanis? So this is a thing that they have to resolve. Yeah, you and I can't tell them what you are.
Yeah,
We tell them you are Bangla. I've been there, I've seen all their dances. They do our dance forms. They do Mohiniyattam, they do Bharatnatyam, they do Kathak, everything ours. They wear saris, they wear tilak, their Rabindra Sangeet. Like I said, the folk music is Baul, which is of Bengal. They have nothing related to West Pakistan inside them. The only thing related to West Pakistan inside them is that religion.
bas
And
Islam.
that is where the identity crisis comes.
Okay. The next this step is from Bangladesh. He says, no matter who is in power, Hindu face drip genocide. Why Hindus are forced into this suicidal empathy? When will India establish peace by strength?
No, this has only happened once during Operation Searchlight, now which is going on. In between, thoda bahut ho jata hai unka riots that we have also had some riots. When Sheikh Hasina was there, you never had this problem. 2009 to 2024, you never faced this problem. August 2024. बीएनपी के टाइम में थोड़ा बहुत हो जाता था, कभी बोलते थे नहीं दुर्गा पूजा नहीं होगा. Then their own people, the Muslims themselves would become angry because they celebrate that in a big way because naach, gana, dance सब होता है. You look at their own Bangladesh team, yeah, they have a nickname which is added to their name, which is a Hindu name. So you got to peace by strength to ho jayega. Their realization is coming suddenly now. So the hardliners, we have to be careful. That's why I said that when such things happen, you got to calibrate the matrix of the gray zone warfare so that before this thing starts happening in a big way, are you able to create those Mukti Jodhas again to give protection to them? Otherwise, you'll put to their hands.
The last question. This is again from Bangladesh, very clearly. These Indians are spreading false propaganda here in Bangladesh. Only
Whole Bangladesh-
1.5 hours power cut in rural areas and 30 to 40 minutes in city area.
You only have 300 megawatt of electricity, which is functioning. And that is run by a friend of mine whom I know. There's nothing else which is running. And in 300 megawatts to say that 1.5 in rural and 30, 40 minutes in city. Maybe people have their generators. Diesel kahan se aayega?
वो भी तो खत्म हो जाएगा, उसके लिए पैसा भी नहीं होगा इनके पास.
Generator kahan se aayega? Diesel kahan se aayega?
And of course, I must tell Bango Putra. He says, Indians, what about Chinese dagger in the Chumbi Valley near Dokalam? Before General Narayanan answers, don't worry, we'll sort that Chinese out. We've sorted them out. वो तो भाग गए वापस. वो वापस नहीं आएंगे. अगले 5 साल तक वो मुड़ के नहीं देखेंगे. ठीक है? चुंबी वैली वो छोड़ देंगे. चुंबी वैली, don't think it's a dagger, fagger and all. Okay? So I don't think. Yeah.
I'll only add one thing. You read it correctly. Chumbi Valley. You are on the dominating heights.
Yeah.
The valley, that becomes a butchery zone if they build up strength.
Please understand, the Chinese are not fools. Okay? That just understand that they want to resume flights to India. Not for fun. Okay? They are allowing us to go to Mansarovar. ये सब आज का न्यूज़ है. आज कल का न्यूज़ है. 26th, when we were celebrating Republic Day, our foreign secretary was in China talking to Yang Yi, and they are interested in being friends with us. So don't be under any mistaken impression that you will get any solace from China. And we know how to handle China. Yeah, please.
Please remember, in this current turmoil which is going on in Bangladesh, the Chinese have given no support to Yunus. When Chinese don't give support, the Malaysians and Singaporeans also won't give support. Singapore has a sizable Chinese population. And that is why the leader has always been a Chinese descent man. China says no, Malaysia, Singapore will also say no. That's why he's come back with a begging bowl to you.
Yeah. So, I think we've done for the day, because this is not going to be a one-day affair. It's going to be a multi-day affair. Yeah. We're going to have a lot more such discussions where Bangladesh must realize where it is. You don't become larger than life, right? And the best thing for Bangladesh and India to do is coexist peacefully. And that is a realization which has to come from within Bangladesh. Remember, India can do what it wants with Bangladesh. The reverse can't happen. India, we might have a pain, but the reverse can't happen. Bangladesh can do what it wants with India and talk and get away with it.
So, Isme, I only add one thing.
Yeah.
Why he's feeling isolated today, getting desperate. He went to OIC, cribbing about India and the Arakan army. To put it, some statement, he got a boot. They said no. There was an ASEAN conference for which he went. Again, he wept there. They just booted him out. And who said no? China was the first to say the shut up, gave him a shut up call. And his well-wishers in US
They're
on the run. They're out.
on the run.
So the only country today who's telling anything to him is another beggar like him on our west, which is Pakistan.
Pakistan. वो क्या करेगा?
That is his
Anyway,
problem. Now he doesn't know.
problem. Yeah. I think we've had a terrific discussion, and I'd like to thank General Narayanan on behalf of all of you who are watching for this in-depth view about where Bangladesh is and where it is heading. And at the end of the day, you know it's heading nowhere. It's going to be remain here. And we have a problem on our hands, and we'll deal with it with strategic patience. Right? Gone are the days when India could say that, look, we'll take you along, yeah, wo. Now, I think the thing is the other way around. You want to come along with us, you're welcome. If you don't want to come along with us, you can remain static. And that's where it is. And I think that's where we'll end today's show. Thanks a lot, Rajiv, once again. And thanks a lot to everyone. Good evening and Jai Hind to all of you.